I would like to call to the podium to present some of the outcomes of the discussions, the NEC discussions, for the Bangkok Declaration and the Global Evaluation Agenda, Mr. Nicholas Rosellini, Deputy Director of the UNDP Regional Bureau for Asia and the Pacific and Director of the Regional Hub in Bangkok.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll also say a warm welcome to the closing session. This event has been an important opportunity to engage in global advocacy around evaluation. We've seen governments and key evaluation networks and their leaders present, and over 100 countries represented, with 42 new countries attending this year. This indicates the important role evaluation will play in shaping and contributing to the SDGs during the upcoming 15 years. The NEC is also a wonderful opportunity for South-South and South-North cooperation. The message is that we should find solutions together, as there are no pre-made solutions. As Rob van der Berg, the IDEA's president, summed up, we are all developing countries in the context of the SDGs. Mark Sagone, in his keynote address this morning, told us how unlike the MDGs, which were strong on monitoring and tracking, but without an evaluation component, the SDGs have an explicit follow-up and review mechanism clearly stated in the 2030 Agenda. This means that 192 states have committed to having a national evaluation system in their country. This is a big opportunity. So to repeat Mark's question from this morning, what can we do to make evaluation the agent of change for the world we want in the new SDG era? Let me remind us today, Anna Rosa showed us some of the priorities from the survey that was conducted before the 5 priorities identified, including concerning the national data systems, developing national level mechanisms for independent evaluations for the SDGs, assigning resources for the conduct of evaluations, building the capacity of evaluators, and developing systems to promote the transparent follow-up of recommendations. So this is just to remind you where we started on day 1 with the 5 main recommendations and priorities coming out from the survey. And I think these are still valid and validated by this meeting. On top of that, I think there were a number of issues emerging in the last 3 days. And I'll be going through, I'll be spending the next few minutes going through issues that emerged. First, the importance of country-owned, country-led, emphasis on their use in influencing policies. Second, the importance of evaluation methods that get at the issues at the heart of the SDGs and new ways of collecting data using technology and innovation. Third, importance of partnerships and an inclusive, open and transparent evaluation process. And fourth, institutional structures for promoting the evaluation of the SDGs. We need of the successful use of evaluations to inform policy, to promote mindset changes in organizations and governments, so that evaluation is seen as important for learning and the improvement in people's lives. The second area I want to focus on is defining and strengthening evaluation processes and methods. Another set of issues that came up, this second set of issues, relates to the methods for assessing the SDGs. How do we assess the equity and sustainability of development outcomes? How do we measure and evaluate new areas of the SDGs, such as social cohesion and governance? This has been notoriously difficult and sensitive, including in the work that I do in UNDP. As was mentioned this morning, how do evaluators assess the equitability of outcomes for marginalized populations? This will be a key issue for the SDGs with its agenda of leaving no one behind. Similarly, how do we measure sustainability? We learned yesterday from Vinod Thomas from the Asian Development Bank that the SDGs require us to see economic growth, social inclusion, and environmentally and environmental protection as mutually reinforcing. So we have to find methods for assessing and evaluating sustainability that capture social inclusion and environmental protection, and not just growth. In Asia Pacific, there's been increased interest by governments in using new techniques to get better feedback from citizens on the effectiveness of their policies and programs in reaching out to the people and improving transparency and accountability. Through its Innovation Fund, UNDP has implemented a number of prototypes with partners that harness technology to improve sustainability, inclusion, and accountability. We have examples on e-waste from China, partnering up with Baidu, Make My Island in the Maldives, and Phones Against Corruption in Papua New Guinea. These all share a common starting point, which is involving citizens in making improvements in their own lives. The challenge is now to bring these innovations in citizen to scale and to ensure that SDG monitoring and evaluation is timely and relevant to people's interests. And here, ensuring that the results of evaluation are built into government policy making is again seen as to be very important. The third area of issues that I wanted to refer to is engaging existing and new stakeholders in collaboration. I think throughout this meeting there's been an emphasis on the importance of promoting better partnership and greater cooperation between governments, civil society, parliaments and the private sector to increase awareness and the use of evaluations. We heard about the importance of citizens as stakeholders and the importance of raising awareness among citizens on SDGs and the role of evaluation. Winston Nyasulu from Malawi's Ministry of Finance mentioned, evaluation is a way to verify progress towards the SDGs. Citizens have to be made aware of the SDGs so they can better take to task their governments. Kamelo Nofuting from Botswana also stressed the pivotal role of citizens in demanding accountability and pressuring the government to set up better M&E systems in Botswana. Another important new partner is the private sector. So far, to be honest, there's been little dialogue with the private sector. There's a need for much more dialogue to explain what the SDGs are and close the gap between the public and private sectors. There was a session chaired by Caroline Haider from the World Bank on day one, exploring new frontiers in evaluation, which asked how are we to evaluate market-oriented initiatives that see development as an investment. These initiatives that see development both as profitable and for social good remind us that as development and evaluation practitioners, we need to look beyond aid projects in today's fast-changing landscape if we are to remain relevant. To harness the power of these partnerships, it is important to create networks and platforms for information and knowledge sharing involving local people, the private sector, parliamentarians, policymakers, and legislators. My final set of issues is around the institutional structures for the evaluation of a system that is oriented to the SDGs, covered by national policy. So the question they now face is how to monitor and evaluate all these policies and SDGs without duplicating and wasting resources. In Colombia, the timing of the planning for the National Development Plan meant that they were able to incorporate the SDG agenda. More than 150 SDG targets are including, allowing for the evaluation of SDGs in the longer term and within the country's own development framework. Just as Georgia and Colombia have shown, we all need to start thinking of evaluation of the SDGs now so that it is not an afterthought. Evaluation of the SDGs is important because it helps us to understand whether our SDG strategies are working in the right way to get the changes we want. We have responded to the challenge posed by the theme of this conference, which obliged us all to work in partnership and blend our strengths for the purpose of achieving a new world, the world we want, through the SDGs. The diversity of participants and their perspectives have made this meeting a global milestone event, one characterized by collective action for the common good. Evaluation is the bridge between meeting the obligations of the SDGs, which can only happen if people's voices are heard and responded to as we go collectively through this journey. Evaluation is about ensuring the linkages are made for evidence to be collected and considered and for action to be taken. I would like to finish by taking this opportunity to thank all the organizers of this event, all the sponsors and organizers. I'm not going to read out names because I think there'll be too many, but certainly the organizations, the government of Thailand, the Independent Evaluation Office of UNDP, IDEAS, all the governments that are present and have come to this meeting, the networks, the evaluation networks, the volunteers, and my UNDP colleagues who have all worked together closely to make this event a great success. Thank you very much.
So we've been together for the last 3 days discussing NEC ideas, priorities for evaluation capacity development. But we really started drafting the Bangkok Declaration in August, when we launched a community of practice that had several dialogues in trying to identify first challenges, then solutions to the challenges, then how we could really push forward this discussion here during the NEC and Ideas Conference. So we've been discussing the declaration for the last 3 days, but we started a long time ago, and we started drafting, and it has changed a lot, and it will continue to change. So we realized that this is really just a document to inspire us all to continue to move forward in our efforts to promote national evaluation capacity development. But to present how far we got in drafting a joint ideas and NEC document that we call the Bangkok Declaration, I want to ask Indran and Rob to make this presentation together. We'll start with Rob, and then Indran will finish. Is that it?
I'll do this from the perspective of a professional evaluation association. This was our contribution to the meeting. And we have had 3 days of discussions of many issues in evaluation, in the profession, from the micro to the macro level. And it has been great to have these discussions also in joint meetings with NEC, where government officials could meet with evaluation professionals to discuss common perspectives, issues that need to be solved. We have gathered experiences, learned from them, and identified challenges that still need to be met. And from the professional perspective, the greatest challenge we face is to make our practices and our approaches, tools, and methods relevant to sustainable development, incorporated in the sustainable. We have discussed and recognized that as a profession, we are confronted with a paradigm shift in this regard for standards for our work. We recognize that our professional standards and our competencies and skills require more work.
Support of national evaluation capacity. It brings our collective and cumulative expertise to service to the SDGs that calls for national and international stakeholders to support efforts to further strengthen the capacity for evaluation,
accountability, and decision-making. And evaluation is often more effective if kept as a separate and distinct governance function to answer the questions of how, why, and the so what question. In moving forward, the declaration actually recognizes the following types of efforts and initiatives that warrant consideration. The first one deals with resources that need to be assigned for evaluations when realigning national plans with the SDGs. This is the moment that this can happen. We need to think of the conduct of country-level SDG evaluation needs, reviews, and diagnostic studies. These are the evaluability assessments that Indran spoke about. We need to assess the evaluability of individual country or sector SDG goals and targets as well. And we need to foster evaluation as national governance and public sector management reform as an important tool for this. We need to establish national evaluation legal frameworks. Many countries have this already, so this is an opportunity for South-South collaboration. We need to develop national and local subnational mechanisms for evaluation of the SDGs. And let's think this through, what would be needed. We need to strengthen national and local data systems to monitor the SDG progress and establish frameworks of formal competences and professional evaluation standards, what would be needed in this new era. Establish evaluation training programs that could support this, create opportunities for local, young and emerging evaluators. You recognize some of the points coming from the Ideas Conference. Develop systems to promote transparent follow-up and evaluation recommendations. And support national, regional and global evaluation professional organizations. Of course, I especially like that the Global Association is in there. We then also ask for support for the exchange between users and producers of evaluation via the right to access to information. In other words, this needs to be open and transparent, including workshops and web-based knowledge management. So this is the conclusion of the Bangkok Declaration. Anna, over to you.
Thank you, Rob. This is a bit of a summary. I trust you are getting copies of the declaration. With this, I call now for a show of hands in support of the overall spirit of this declaration being sent as an input for the Global Evaluation Forum to take place in Kathmandu in Nepal next month. So please, a show of hands, those that agree to send this to Nepal as our input to the Global Evaluation Agenda. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Representing in this input to the Global Forum in Nepal, I now call to the stage Mr. Vichit Chitwitmar, Acting Director General of Thailand International Cooperation Agency, representative of the Royal Thai Government, co-host of the 2015 conference, NEC conference, to hand the EvalTorch over to Mr. Jaiyen Prasad Bandari, National Planning Committee, Government of Nepal. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon, distinguished delegates and representatives from different governments and non-government agencies, and ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the Royal Thai Government and the organizer of this conference for this honor. I feel honored to accept this torch that symbolize our commitment to take the evaluation, use of evaluation for decision making, all for conclave. And finally, I would like to say this is not closing for Eval journey. So I hope and believe we meet again in Kathmandu, Nepal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhandari, representative of Nepal. Thank you very much. Yes.